Welcome to Leaving Nothing to Chance, your go-to podcast where we bring you insights from some of the most influential voices in small business and personal development. Each week, we dive deep into conversations with top thought leaders, authors, and business moguls from around the world, sharing their secrets to success and strategies for growth. Tune in for exclusive content that will inspire, motivate, and equip you to take your journey to the next level. This is Leaving Nothing to Chance.
I want to welcome our friend who I've been on his show, and now he's returning a favor and being on our show. This is the furthest away interview I've ever done.
Oh, that's cool.
Because Kingsley Colley is all the way in the Gold Coast, which is the Sydney area. For those of you that are familiar with Australia, it's not quite Sydney. Kingsley will correct me on my geography.
Yeah, a bit closer to Brisbane. We're about an hour away from Brisbane.
From Brisbane, that's right.
Yeah.
Many, many years ago, I do believe the greatest zoo in the world is in Sydney.
Taronga's Park Zoo, yep.
I got to hold a koala bear, which was really something.
Yeah, that is fun.
Yeah, but a lot of fun for Americans because we don't see them up here. I think the only zoo in America that's got one is in San Diego, but he only comes out when the weather's a certain way. Anyway, Kingsley, how are you? Kingsley, I want to tell people a little bit about you before I introduce you. Your podcast is called Tomorrow is Not Today. And Kingsley is an entrepreneur. He's a teacher. He's a podcaster. He's a thought leader. He's been in ministry. He's done some things in ministry in the past. He believes in performance mastery. This is going to be a great discussion about a lot of that, and who knows where else we'll end up. So welcome to the show, Kingsley.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, appreciate it. Let's just start at the top. Describe performance mastery.
So performance mastery it's not just about productivity. It's not just about achieving success. To me, performance mastery is being in a place where your whole being is a performance. So what I mean by that is you have a home life, you have a family life, you have a business and a professional life, you have a physical health, you have mental health, and obviously we want to be productive. So to me, if you're going to master your performance, it means you're going to do the best you can in all of those areas. So it's not just about being the best business person or making the most amount of money or anything like that. It's mastering yourself and your own performance in every aspect of life, which obviously filters through every aspect of life.
Now, how do you keep things in balance? Because that's a great description. So how do you do that when you're running a business and you're going 18 hours a day and you got to sleep, but you still got to exercise, you still got to eat right, you still got to have some spiritual time? How do you do all of that?
So first of all, I don't believe in work-life balance. I think it's a myth. And the reason is because you've got people who work 9-to-5 jobs. They go home, 6 o'clock, sit down, have dinner with the family, etc., etc. That's a traditional work-life balance. But then you've got people who are sales reps who are out on the road, might be 2 or 3 days a week, or maybe go away for a couple of weeks. You got in Australia, we have people work in the mines for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, and then they come home, they might have a week off. You've got actors who might be out on set for weeks at a time, or maybe they just got really long hours wherever they are. You've got all sorts of different people in different industries. You've got nurses, you've got police, you've got all of these different people who work different hours. So the traditional work-life balance, I don't believe exists. And I think I learned this probably from John Maxwell as much as anything, is when he was releasing a book a little while ago, and I don't remember the exact time frame. So basically he said to his family, I've basically got a year coming up where I'm going to be doing a book tour. So he's going to be in and out a lot, but a lot out. He said, but when I come back, I'm going to take 3 months off and I'm going to have that time. But now I need to have this focused period of time where I've got to do what I've got to do. And I think that's more an appropriate work-life balance scenario, that if you've got something you need to do, something you need to make happen, then you do that, but understand that what your ultimate priorities are and make them the ultimate priorities, so that if you've got something to do for a period of time, you put the time in that it's going to take, but you make sure that what's important is taken care of afterwards.
That's a great answer. I never thought of it quite that way, but I think in my own career, when I've been most successful is when I've said, "Hey, I've got to eliminate all the other noise and I got to focus," and my businesses would grow that much better. But you can't do that forever and forsake your marriage or your kids for obvious reason. But that thing of trying to tell people out, work this many hours and then yeah, it just doesn't really, in the real world, it sounds good, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
really
It's a
work.
great theory.
Yeah, for instance, I have a good friend, Dr. Ricardo Pelayo. He's my top distributor in Mexico in my business. And the first 2 years he was in business, he slept 2 hours a night and he worked 20 hours a day. And he took 2 hours for exercise and little family time and stuff. But after 2 years, he said, okay, I'm going to curtail that. But after 2 years, he built a monstrously huge business.
Mm,
So you can do it
yeah.
faster. You can run the 100-yard dash, or you can run the marathon. But if you run the 100-yard dash, you got to run it. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. And I think one of the keys with that as well is a whole communication with important people around you of what's going on and what's happening. Because one of the biggest letdowns in any scenario is expectations. People have certain expectations. If you don't tell them what they are, they'll create their own. So if we have those expectations, then it allows for the ability to go and do things like that.
Exactly. So, what would you say is the real meaning of success for you?
For me, and I love that question, John. And the reason I love that question is because success is one of those things that we're all told what success should be, but we often don't think about what is success for me. So for me, success is being able to do what I want to do, live the life that I want to live, and have freedom to be able to do that, and making sure that I'm got my physical and my mental health in priority, that I got family and my important relationships and things like that in a priority. And I do basically what I believe I'm called to do on this planet.
Hmm, great answer. Great answer. How important are the correct habits?
I don't think there's anything more important. You gotta have the right habits. You have a look at when I work with people, I have a look firstly at their morning routine, and usually that's not quite in place. And then because that's not in place, I'll go, okay, so how's your evening routine? And that's where we find out why the morning routine isn't in place properly. And if we can fix those two things, then most of the rest of the stuff works. And habits are easy to get into. There's a guy, Samuel, I think it's Jackson, I think is his name, had a quote, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, but along the lines of habits, something along you don't recognize the fact that you're forming a habit until it's too hard to break.
Hmm,
And so putting the right habits in place is critical for anything to work, because very few things start and go really fast, really well, and stay sustainable. But if you put habits in place, you can reach this place.
great. And do you find that, let's talk about those habits specifically, because it's so important. And I find as I get older, I'm a creature of habit. I work a certain way.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'm up 4:30 in the morning. I've got the entrepreneur's brain or the entrepreneur's curse, depending on how you're looking at it. And you probably got it. And everybody I interview just about has it, where you start tossing and turning because there's something going on up here about an idea, a phone call, a meeting, something
Yeah.
you forgot to do yesterday. You know what I'm talking about. And so do our listeners, are mostly entrepreneurs. How do you start your day? What are those good habits that you've established for your business through the years that have helped you to become successful and stay successful, most importantly?
So for me, first thing I do, I get up and I go exercise. That's simple. That's what I do. That has to be the first thing. So when I'm out exercising, I've got my headphones on. I'll either be listening to the Bible or a good podcast or maybe a bit of both. I'll often take the dogs out for a walk and a bit of a run. And we have these sort of like weight gym things that the council puts in, which are phenomenal. When I first saw them, I'm like, there's no way on earth that's going to do anything for anyone. And then I actually started using one and I'm like, this is awesome. They're actually really good. I used to go to the gym, but I realized the amount of time it takes to do that, to go to the gym, and then I'm stuck inside. And I love exercising in the outside. So when I'm out and I'm running or walking, whether it's bitumen or whatever, I always do it bare feet. So because I love to earth on the grass, so I'm walking on the grass or in the sand or whatever. So I'm earthing at the same time. I'm doing my exercise. And then I'll either go home if I'm doing it around home, or else if I'm down at the beach and I'm exercising down there, I'll go and have a cold shower for a minimum of 3 minutes. This is throughout the year because basically the science tells us that between 3 and 6 minutes for cold therapy is where you get maximum benefit. So I make sure I do a minimum of 3 minutes in the shower. Then I'll go make my wife coffee, which she has while she's in bed usually. She actually likes going to the gym. She doesn't like doing the morning thing that I do. And then I'll go and start writing down, planning my day, getting all that happening. Most of the time I will have I've got a breakfast that I usually have during the weekdays. That's pre-made. I grab that out of the fridge and do that, having a coffee and planning my day, putting all the bits together and making sure we got the day happening. And also I make sure I hydrate as well. A lot of water.
Now, how important? Okay, so you're a fan of earthing.
Yep.
You're a fan of Wim Hof, of course, and cold water therapy. What's your nighttime routine?
So nighttime is normally just when we close things down and try and turn the lights down a little bit, go to bed, and we might, depending on what's happening, sometimes my wife works at night. She works in disability, so she'll be away. Sometimes we're there together, so we might watch a bit of TV or we'll be reading together and just be like that in bed. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how we relax, have a shower, get ready for bed, do all that sort of stuff so that at the end of the day, we're starting to slow down, starting to chill out. We got this thing. We're spending a little bit of time together in that way at the end of the day.
So let's switch gears for a minute. How important are mentors, and who have been some of yours? You mentioned John Maxwell, of course, but people don't know John Maxwell. They certainly should, right? Everything goes up and down based on your attitude, right? But besides Mr. Maxwell, are there others?
One person that I started listening to early on was Zig Ziglar. And when you're on my podcast, I know we did talk about this and your little car park interlude.
Yeah.
And so he's always been one. And through the years, I've learned that everything that he seems to have said, even though we're years down the track and the world has changed drastically, I don't think anything is different from what he said that isn't actually true today as well. So he's definitely been one. I've had people around my life when I've gone through the really hard times in life that have just been there for me. And what I like about having good mentors, and I see a good mentor as someone who will love you for who you are, all your mistakes, everything that you are, they will love you, but they'll also slap you across the face if you need a good slap across the face to wake up and get things happening. And I've had some good people in my life like that. They would listen to my stupidity and carry on and all that sort of thing. But then if I got too carried away, they go, hey, you know what? You need to think about this. You need to put this in place. You need to change this. And did that. And that's how I see a good mentor.
Mm-hmm. Course correction sometimes, right?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. It's ironic. Hey, I know you've been in ministry too. You started a church in Denver when you came over. And two questions on that. One, obviously, as you work in ministry. And two, how was the adjustment going, not only obviously geography, weather, all the obvious, but how was it coming from a different country to the United States and planning a church? What was the process of that, and how did that all work out?
That's a really long story, all of that. But initially, when we first moved to America, landed in LA, and it was really interesting and I had no idea really what to expect. We see TV in the movies, but it's really not like that. So I landed in LA and we were just harassed by all these people going, come and stay at our accommodation, come and stay at our accommodation. Don't stay with them. It's really dangerous. You'll get beaten up by druggos. Don't stay with them. Come on with us. We're the best ones. We got the cheapest rates, or we're not as cheap, but we're safe. And we're just surrounded, harassed by this. And I had no clue what to do. So we're like, okay, we've been told this type of motel's a good one. This area we believe is okay. Let's just go there. And went to that place and just stayed in that hotel for the night till we worked out what we were doing. And then we bought a car and started traveling from LA, a bit of a scenic tour through to Denver, Colorado. which I absolutely loved that time. It was a phenomenal time. I love America. Absolutely love America and Americans. It's really interesting because in Australia, you watch the movies and you watch the news and you think that's what America is. But it's not until you actually live there for a period of time that you understand probably about 10% of what is actually real. And so Australians don't get it. An example is often Americans will come to Australia and a lot of restaurateurs will think they're quite arrogant. They're not really arrogant. It's just the expectation is different. Because in America, you get a soft drink or something and it's just continual refills. That's just what happens. Where over here, you get a small glass and it's expensive. And if you want another one, you got to pay for another one. So if you get a small glass of soft drink or whatever, it might be $5 or $6. If you want another one, you pay another $5 or $6. So it adds up really quick. So the expectation level, that's an example of how things are different. So get to Denver, we were supporting other people who were planning the church. And so just getting to know how Americans operate, how they think, what was different. I remember because we started in Colorado and one morning it was just snow and ice and everything everywhere. And it was just like packed. And to get the car out, you could hardly get the car out. So here we rock up to church, we finally get there, get set up, it's brand new. And there was just a small handful of people that come in at the same time. And they're like, we can't believe you guys. You are amazing. You, in this weather, you get out and you have church anyway. And we're like, we've never heard of not having church. It's Sunday. That's what you do. They're like, yeah, but normally if it's a snowstorm and there's sleet and ice everywhere, most people call it off and people stay home. We're like, oh, okay. Never thought of that. So that was one of the things that we had to learn is the different culture and what happens.
Interesting. Now, had you been in snow before? I know your kids were young then too, that they've been in snow prior to.
Yeah, so I'd been in snow last year at high school. We did a ski trip down south into the snow mountains, which was awesome. But I hadn't until then. I think that was the only time I'd been in snow. So yeah, I had two kids born in Colorado, so they're now American citizens. If one of them wanted to be president one day, it wouldn't surprise me. They're in Australia now, but they had full-on accents when we came back. They lost them really quick, but yeah, they were both born in America. And I think it's fantastic. The hospital system, the way we were treated and everything, it was just brilliant. It was fantastic.
So let's talk a little bit more about success, okay? Because you've been a successful guy in various projects, right? Not the easiest things to do either, because dealing with people, whether you're planning a church or building a business or building a podcast or building a following on a podcast, it's all comes down when you're dealing with human beings. And sometimes it's easier to deal with robots, I think, because you and I have that in common. So let's talk about that for a minute, Kingsley. Two questions. First one, what three things should our listeners do consistently to become more successful?
I think you touched on one before. The most important one is the habits, having the right habits in place. But before you get there, you've got to know where you're going. You've got to know who are you and what do you really want? We used to hear a lot about it years ago about having a life mission statement. And I'm not sure that we have to have a specific written down life mission statement, although that certainly doesn't hurt. Have to know who you are and what you really want. What's success to you? Because if you don't know that, there's so many shiny objects out there, and I'm the best one for chasing the next shiny object. It's really hard not to go and chase that thing. But if you know where you're going, where you want to go, then it makes it a lot easier to get there. And then understand that there's more than one way to get there. So when we landed in LA, we wanted to go to Denver. We could have driven. And if we had have driven, we could have gone down south, gone through Texas and then gone up, or we could have gone up north and then come back down or gone straight across. We could have jumped on a plane and flown there, which would have been easier. There's buses. We could have caught a bus. We could have lots of different ways of getting to that. That was where we were going. That was going to be home. So we knew exactly where we were going. It was just a matter of what direction are we going to get there. And when we're in the car, if we took a detour, That's not necessarily wrong. We're seeing some extra country and extra scenery. It's not necessarily wrong. It's just a different way to go. And when you're going across, I like to tell people on the journey of life, you're going to have flat tires. Your car's going to break down. There's going to be some dirt roads. There's going to be times where you do get lost. You've taken a wrong turn and you get lost. But this is all part of the journey that builds us and grows us and makes us bigger, stronger people, so long as we view it that way. I like the saying, things either happen to us or for us, and it's our choice as to which one that is.
Mm. Now, the reverse of that question. So those are the things they should keep doing, the good habits.
Yeah.
What are the things they should stop doing?
Chasing the shiny object. Not having clarity. It's really the exact opposite. If you don't have clarity, you go down the track and you get to the end of your life and go, I haven't done this and I haven't done that. I think playing it safe is a big thing that we should stop doing, because we all want to play safe because it's safe, it's comfortable, it's easy. But safe becomes boring. One thing I loved about living in Colorado is the fact that there's 4 very distinct seasons.
Mm.
You had summer where it got hot and sweaty. As much as it was a dry heat, it was hot. And you had fall, we call it autumn, you call it fall, where it did change and the leaves started to change color and started to fall off, and it was a different season. And then you had winter when it was snow. And I remember getting snowed in a couple of times. It was so much fun. I think the locals didn't enjoy it as much, but I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And then the spring where things change around a bit as well. And I think we need to embrace every season. Don't be too comfortable where you don't try new things, because embrace new seasons and go after the new seasons. In summer, you can go skiing on the lake. You go to the beach, you enjoy that sort of stuff. But the great thing about winter is you got skiing, you got snowboarding, you've got all of this sort of stuff going on. There's different seasons. Embrace the season that you're in and learn that tomorrow is not today. Seasons, everything goes in cycles. Seasons come, seasons go, the tides come in, the tides go out, the snow comes down, and then the snow goes away, and it creates beautiful water and fresh water for us, which helps with electricity and all sorts of other stuff. Everything has a great time and place.
Very well put. I'm sure you've read the Seasons of Life that Jim Rohn wrote years and years ago.
No, I haven't actually.
Oh.
I must admit, I've only listened to him. I've never actually read any of his books, but I do listen to his on YouTube and things like that quite a bit.
You just did the epitome of the explanation of the Seasons of Life, right? That was the title of that book, but it's come from Ecclesiastes, of course. And but that 4 seasons that you see in a place like Colorado that we don't really see in Texas much, and like
No.
I grew up in the northeastern United States where you had the same great thing, and it was like, okay, spring was beautiful because it was a new beginning, and then summer was great. But in summer, you gotta start to prepare for fall, right? Because fall,
Yeah.
what follows is winter, right? And you just did a beautiful job of explaining that. I want to talk a little bit about anxiety, because I heard on one of the podcasts that you did with another gentleman, I can't remember his name, but you talked about how exercise has been such a anxiety reliever for you over the years. So I'd like you to
Yes.
talk about that a little bit, because people don't realize, they always think they're building muscle or getting faster. They don't realize there's so much more to that. So I'd love for you to explain that.
I love this. I think exercise has been one of those things where you go to the gym because you want to get buff and you want to look good and walk around with your chest out, all that sort of thing. And that is part of it for a lot of people, let's be honest. But exercise, it's been proven in a number of studies, and actually one in South Australia, not last year, the year before, they did a study and worked out that people who have anxiety and depression and that sort of thing, exercise in a routine exercise program is 150% more powerful than any of the drugs that are actually on the market at the moment,
Mm.
which is just, to me, that's huge. exercise is not just about looking good or feeling healthy, although it is part of that. But when you look at the science behind how it works, there's a study done about 10 years ago, and I can't remember the lady who did it now. But basically, when we exercise, there's a molecule that goes through our blood into our brain, and they call it the happy molecule, because basically what it does is it tells our brain to be happy. And it only happens, this is only a molecule that actually happens and goes through our bloodstream when we're exercising. That's the only thing that causes it. And when you got anxiety or you've got depression and you can't get out of bed, or you go and you do what you do and then you climb back into your bed and you hide there as long as you possibly can, it's very difficult to make that decision to go, I'm going to do something about this. It's really hard to do that. And I was actually interviewed on my podcast just a little while ago, that'll come out fairly soon, a guy who deals with bipolar and other mental illnesses as well. He was very open about everything, which is fantastic. And he spent 18 months basically, he'd go to work, come home and spend his time in bed. He couldn't play with his kids. He couldn't get up and do all sorts of stuff. And unless you've been there, you don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. But he finally got through it. And talking to him is like, for me, when I went through stuff, I had to go down to the beach and run and go for a swim. That's what got me through stuff. I had my kids there. I had to think of them, and I had to go down to the beach and run. I had no idea at the time what I was doing was scientifically the best thing I could have done. Now, I've learned a lot about that since. But exercise is good for us, our brain, our health, our clarity, our thinking. It gives us energy. It puts the blood around our body. It gives us testosterone. It does so many different things for us and keeps us young. One of the studies that's been done was, what's his name? I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he did a study. He sent all of his team off to study Alzheimer's. And I know it's not anxiety, but it'll line up in a minute. And they came back 12 months later and said, we studied Alzheimer's, and the best way to actually prevent it or get over it is by exercise. He's like, you guys are crazy. That can't be true. Go back and do it again. That can't be right. So they went back and did it again. They came back and said, no, exercise is the best way for you to actually, again, habitual exercise to get over or prevent Alzheimer's. And it's the same thing with anxiety, and it's the same thing with just being a better person as well, and getting through all those scenarios. It's really interesting when you look at the results of exercise and what it actually does for you.
Great. I hadn't heard of that study, but I've heard of similar ones with the brain again, that just releasing those endorphins and
yeah,
just making yourself feel good. And generally, too, people who exercise are not in a bad mood as often as people who don't. That's
yeah.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, well,
actually not.
Yeah, you've used up some of your energy. Let's talk about your podcast a little bit. And I love the name of it. And I have to ask, tomorrow is not today. Boy, there's a lot of metaphors that could be drawn off of there. But what was your original one? And
yeah. The original thing came to me. One day I was going through a really bad space. I was just trying to kick off a business, get a business happening. I was in a bad space. Things weren't quite happening. And I'm like, why am I feeling like this? What's going on? And then I started to think about it, and I'm like, I wasn't feeling like this a few days ago. It's changed. Things are different now than what they were a few days ago. And pressures have happened. And then I started thinking out a little bit more long term. And I'm like, you know what? However I'm feeling right now, that's today. But I can make changes. Circumstances will change. Things will happen so that tomorrow I'm not going to be in a bad space. And it's my responsibility to deal with that, to make that the case. So I thought, and then I started looking at things and I'm like, hang on. So there's summer times in life, we call summer and winter periods of life, that changes every year. We go through this cycle of the 4 different seasons, and we're in a summer season or we're in a winter season. We call the bad times in life winter season, but the reality is, like I said, you got ski fields, you got snowboarding, you got all sorts of stuff you can enjoy with the snow. And those times are the best times. That's when we grow. That's when we strengthen ourselves. That's where we can put down and go, you know what? I'm learning from this. I'm growing for this. I'm going to make changes in my life so that I can be a bigger, stronger, better person next time stuff happens. But everything in life is a cycle. Everything in life. Our whole body, we change, our whole physical body changes over a period of time. They often say over 7 years, different cells over different periods of time, but you're a completely new person every 7 years. Seasons change every year. There's this time for planting and a time for harvesting. The tides go in, the tides go out. You've got a full moon and it goes through its phases. You've got day and night. You've got interest rates go up and down. Everything is a cycle. And if we understand that and learn to use the cycle that we're in the best way possible, every cycle can be a great cycle, even if it's a bad one.
Sometimes would you say we learn more during that bad cycle, like you described, metaphorically, the winter time, right? In our life when nothing grows. Maybe we're going through a divorce. Maybe we're going through the loss of a loved one. Maybe we're going through a business failure or challenge or whatever, because we all go through all of these different things at some point, and it doesn't have to be in my part of the world January, in your part of the world June, right? That's winter in Australia. So it doesn't have to reflect the calendar, but it reflects the circumstance that one finds themselves in.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And it's interesting you say all that, because I think I've done every one of those things that you've talked about. And it was going through those times that were the hardest things to get through. And often I wondered, am I actually going to get through this? Can I get through this? In all reality, that's where it was. But it's that times that pushed me to learn about this stuff, to study about this stuff, to go, okay, what, as much as this is ugly and I want to get out of here as quick as I possibly can, what am I learning? What am I doing here? Why am I here? What have I done? What could I have done different? What do I need to do better moving in the future? And it was those times. The reason I'm here now doing this is because of those times. The reason I'm helping other people as much as I am and doing what I'm doing is because of going through those times.
Exactly. Yeah. If we don't go through them, it's hard when other people are going through them to be able to counsel them and say, here's how I handled this or that. When their situation might be different, but it's the same in the sense that I don't care who you are, your life happens at all levels. Doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how much, it happens. And so what kind of
Sorry, John, can I just say one thing on that? I learned more about love by going through divorce than any other time. Because I'm like, what have I done? I was the last person that was going to happen to. So I'm like, what have I done here? So I started studying it, listening, reading, watching, learning as much as I could. And I learned about love and what real love is by going through divorce. But then at the same time, I learned to stop judging people and let them go through their journey. Because we all have a journey to go through. And if we go through that journey, and when other people go through a journey and we learn from it and grow from it, other people going through a journey, other people making wrong decisions and being in the wrong place, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to support you. I'm going to stand alongside of you. I'm not going to judge you, but I will do the best thing for you. And when you get to that place, it's a whole new world.
Wow. What you just said there is amazing, because so many people go through it. I think C.S. Lewis had a statement that was something along the lines of what you just said there, of pain is God's megaphone to rouse a sleeping world, or something to that extent. And what you just said was very on, because it can't all be good. Stuff happens. Life
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
So just to sum everything up, if they want to listen to your podcast, where do they do that?
Yeah, so it's on all the local podcast channels, on YouTube. It's called Tomorrow Is Not Today. I've got a new one coming out very soon called 8-Minute Thoughts. That one's all about things that we sometimes think about but don't ever go delve into thinking about. I've kept it short. So there's ones like trying too hard is holding you back, being present. There's one thing there about there's a season for everything. So there's all these things that we hear or whatever, but don't put a lot of thought into. And I've tried to put a bit of thought and a bit of depth into these things as well. So yeah, I'm very excited about that coming out, actually.
Great. When does that debut?
So that one will come out in March. I believe it's our time be Monday, the 3rd of March. That will start. That'll be a weekly podcast, 8 minutes, give or take, but about 8 minutes. Just called 8-Minute Thoughts.
Great. Well, folks, if you haven't heard Kingsley's show, boy, it's great. You've had some great people on there, and you do a great job interviewing them. So I really enjoy it. That's how we met. I've listened to your show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. I'm really glad you did. It took us a while to get here, but we got here, and it's been fantastic, John.
Exactly. And if people want to reach out to you and contact you for any of the services that your company provides, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can just on Instagram or Facebook, Tomorrow Is Not Today, or Kingsley Colley on Facebook and Instagram. Jumped onto the website, which is just tomorrowisnottoday.com. That's probably the best way. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. Again, just Kingsley Colley. You'll find me there.
Great. Last question.
Yes.
How do people establish a goal and keep their word to themselves?
Oh, first part's easy. The second part, not so much. Establishing the goal. Again, go back. Who are you? What do you really believe is success for you? I like to say in our tagline, create the life you want, leave a legacy you can be proud of. And I think if you keep that at the forefront of your mind, that's where you're going. That's how you can establish your goal. How do you keep going with that and make yourself do it? That's not easy, but that's where habits come into it. Don't try and take over the world all at once. If you got to start small, there's two ways of doing habits. One, some people are like, that's it, I'm going for it. And they're gung-ho, they put everything into it, and that's how they go. There's other people, if they want to start exercising, they've got to put their exercise clothes on, get to the front door, and then go back again. And they've done really well to do that. Good for them. Don't judge yourself by what anyone else does or doesn't do. You're your own journey, your own life, your own story to tell. Whichever way you are, just make sure you keep moving forward in little increments.
Great advice. Kingsley, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know it's nighttime here in Texas.
Yeah.
It is about 11 a.m., I think.
Yeah, just about.
So let me see. So tomorrow tomorrow is not today here yet, but it is there.
Yeah. That's very true.
You got some great metaphors off that. You guys should get some shirts made off of that, because it's a great idea. But I want to thank you again, Kingsley. My pleasure. And we'll keep doing this, and can't wait for the new show in March. So good luck with that.
I'll let you know when it's there. Thank you, John. I really appreciate you having me on. It's been really enjoyed getting to know you and chatting. And when you're on my show, the stories you tell, there's just mega lessons through every story. It was fantastic.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check back weekly for more exciting episodes. And don't miss Ink and Insight every Wednesday, where we celebrate iconic authors and dive into their impactful works.